Hi, I've got a quick little project for Cheryl. I've cut 2-inch lengths of 0.8 millimeter 20 gauge wire, and there's 4 of them, and I straighten each one of them. This is for a snowflake earring, and you can see how I straighten it. I hold it one end with a pair of pliers, and the other I pull and twist, and that not only straightens each of these lengths, but it also work hardens it. So you could use head pins, but I just cut it. So the next wire I'm using is 0.4 millimeter, and that's for binding. So I've cut a length of that, I'd say about 10 inches. I've just been generous. And then I've connected it to the center of one of my 4 wire straight lengths. And I'm just making sure that it's connected and I've got no sort of little spiky end. So now that I've got it onto that one piece, I bring the other section right next to it and bring the wire around it so that it holds it there. And then I'm going to twist it to create a cross shape. Now you've really got to hold the center of this cross to make sure it doesn't wobble around, and then you wrap the wire under and over and bring it to the next one, under and over, and then round to the next one. Actually, it doesn't matter if you go over and under, as long as you go around to make sure that they're held in place in that shape. Then when you get to the next gap, place the next wire within that gap and do the same thing. Wrap it around and over to the next one. Wrap it around to the next one. And then you're coming to the wobbly new bit round. And once you've gone around again, you'll feel that the lengths have secured themselves in the center. Every time you introduce a new piece, you'll feel it's all a little bit wobbly. So you really have to grip the center, but you want to end up with this sort of star shape. So keep wrapping until you feel that it's held together at the center. That's the most important thing, that it's not going to wobble. And you don't have to use all the wire, weaving wire. You can cut it off at some point. It depends how big you want the center of your earrings to be, because you might want to glue a flat back crystal at the center or wire in a bead. So the center of the earrings, the amount of weaving rather that you do, is dependent on the amount of wire you use at the center. So once you've done that and it feels secure, just place it on your steel block, and with your hammer, so just make sure first of all they're all straight, with your hammer very, very gently tap the center wires so that they flatten down, but I mean gently, because you don't want a wallop on that, because you might weaken and make them brittle and then they might fall apart. So scooch them all up in the center. So now you've got the whole thing gathered at that center point and you've got your lovely snowflake shape. If any of the wires are not completely in place, this is the time to straighten them out. And then you can feed beads onto them. So I'm going to use some very neutral beads because Cheryl had asked for a snowflake a pair of earrings. So I'm just going with a little white seed bead, a clear crystal, another white seed bead, and a clear crystal. I mean, it's, you can be much more adventurous than me. And when you've got them to the length that you want it, obviously you want to make a suspension link on one of the ends. So I'm just creating a little link with my round nose pliers with the end of the wire. Then I'm going to go to the opposite side and thread the beads, same sort of pattern of beads on the opposite side. But for all my other spokes of my icicle, what I'm going to do is, that's a little bit long, I'm just going to make a head pin. So I'm just trimming a tiny bit off. Then I'm going to get my chain nose pliers and create a tiny little hook or bend right at the end. You can see that hook. Grip it as tight as you can near that bend and squish, 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 squeeze it so it's doubled up. So there's like a head pin. And that is the opposite end. And that's what I'm going to do actually to all of the other ends. I mean, you could make spirals, you could hammer them and flatten them so the beads don't come off. There's all sorts of different ways of finishing off the end of a wire. For my other bits, I'm going to make these a bit shorter because I've got to remember they're earrings. I don't want them huge. Well, maybe you like huge earrings. But otherwise they sort of can look like you're wearing a Christmas decoration. So, you know, I'm keeping it to a certain size. So again, another head pin. And I'm not claiming that it's easy to bend these little head pins, but so just have a bit of patience. It does take a lot of grip. So there we are. I've sped forward to me doing the whole thing, so you don't have to watch in agonizing detail. And now you've got all the beaded parts done, you want to fill the center with something. So you could glue a flat back crystal on both sides so that when it turns around, so you know, any of these, you can get a clear one obviously, but if you wanted to inject some color, you could also wire a bead with 0.4. But I'm going to create a little spiral. So again, making a little head pin at the end of the wire. I'm working from a spool at the moment and I'm creating a spiral. So I'm just, you've seen me do this hundreds of times. I'm just wrapping the wire around itself and I'm going to make this spiral just the right size to sit at that center point of the snowflake. So I'm bending the wire to the back, the working wire to the back, and then I'm going to hold it at the center with the tips of my chain nose pliers and bend it at a right angle so that the wire projects at a right angle from the back of the spiral. And then cut it off, leaving a stem of about 5 inches. But the amount of wire you leave is dependent on the size of the spiral that you're going to make. So it could be a little bit less than that. So post it through, find a little gap, you can post it through so that the wire then is poking through the opposite side of your snowflake frame. And then you start by making another tight spiral. So again, with the little tiny tight head pin, spiral the wire around itself until it comes closer and closer to the snowflake frame. And as you approach, you want to sort of bend it upwards or downwards or sideways, just so that as it comes in to be spiraled and flattened at the center, it sits in a sort of central way. So there you have it. Now, it does take a little time sometimes to get them central because one wants to sit a little bit on the side. So have a bit of patience there as well, of just manipulating it until you're completely happy. If you find this a little bit fiddly and complicated, as I said, you can use E6000, glue a flat back crystal to the center, or glue your spirals, your wire spirals to the center. This is just an idea. And I guess I am rushing it a bit, only because I've got so many Christmas projects to do and commissions to finish. But I wanted to do this little tutorial for Cheryl as she requested it for her from my YouTube. So all you have to do at this point is attach the earring finding. And there you have it. And you have a little snowflake earring, and obviously you'd make the second one to go with it. And that's my very simple version of a snowflake earring. Many thanks for watching.